friends, it's Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design. I am so glad you could join me today. This is a really exciting day for me because I am guest designing for my friends at Little Birdie Crafts. I met Harish Klospet at CHA in January and fell in love with his beautiful flowers. And I've been getting to know Rashmi online, and I just love their Itsy Bitsy Crafters Cafe group, and they asked me to guest design for them, and it took me about 3 seconds to say yes. I love these flowers. So I thought about what to make, and I thought what would be more perfect to go with Little Birdie Crafts Flowers than Graphic 45's gorgeous Floral Shoppe Collection. This is a brand new collection, and I put together an interactive folio. It's kind of a hybrid between a card and a folio and a gift and home decor. It measures 5 and, let me get my ruler out, I can never remember. Yes, 5.5 by 7.5, and I scored in a 1/4-inch spine. And on the front, I've got this beautiful array of Little Birdie flowers. They are gorgeous. Today I use, let me pull them out. I used elements from the Wendy Carnation. I used more of these gorgeous Rosalind Candy Mix roses. And I love these because they have long pieces and short pieces, so you can build a really natural looking floral array. I used some of these gorgeous Fiona Mulberry roses. These are just gorgeous. And then I used these precious Bernice purple handmade flowers. I love the gold beads in the center. One of the things I love about Little Birdie is that they add lots and lots of foliage, so you make everything look natural. And then I also use, these are called foliage and pollen, and I've tucked these in here. And I just love how this gives everything such a natural look. So those are the flowers I used. For Graphic 45, you will need the 12 by 12 paper collection. This is the 8 by 8 Floral Shoppe. It's just beautiful, and it goes so well with these flowers. The 12 by 12 comes with the sticker sheet, which we will also be using. And then I also had tags and pockets, and I had chipboard pieces. So I'll have a complete supply list with links to everything in my blog post at kathybydesign.com. So let's take a quick look at this card. Oh yes, I also used the delightful damask primed chipboard. I love this stuff. Or I'm sorry, it's Damask Delight. You get both of these beautiful pieces, and it's already primed. But what I did, because I wanted to add just a little hint of shabby chic shine, was I very quickly painted this with the Little Birdie home decor paint. And while it was still wet, I sprinkled it with this Stampendous shabby chic ivory embossing enamel. And that's how I got this really fun textured shine. So that's what that is. And I stitched around the edges too, and did some fussy cutting and created this pocket where this bookmark sits. And this is also topped with those Bernice purple roses. And then I also used their leaf stencil to add just a shadowy layer over the design paper. And I love this because even once the bookmark comes out, you still have a piece that's pretty enough to put out on display. So here's the chipboard, another little bit of chipboard along the spine, this little loopy twine bow, and then on the inside, this is what makes it a folio. I've added a pair of pockets. This one has a little 4x6 folio with a tea bag and a chocolate, room for you to write your sentiment, and of course you can tuck a gift card in there if you'd like, or photos if you would like. And then on the bottom, we've just created another pocket, and I'm going to show you how to do all of this in the tutorial that follows. We've added, yes, I did. This is the piece from the tags and pockets, and then I've tucked the Floral Shoppe 4x6 ephemera cards into this large pocket on the bottom. And of course you can journal on the back, you can add photos, there's room for more photos in the pocket. And then I just added a honey stick to go with the tea bag that I decorated up with a little scrap and a sticker from the collection. So this is how it goes together. And I'll be back in just a minute. We'll start by building the base, and then we're just going to build this beautiful piece step by step together today. So let's get started building the base for our card. And you're going to start with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of just plain white cardstock. And you're going to cut it on the long side at 5.5. And you're going to do this twice. Then you're going to put it on your scoring tool. And let me just bring that in very quickly. And you're going to score it at 7.5 and at 7 3/4. And this is going to form our top fold spine. And the reason we put that little extra quarter inch in there is so we can fill our pockets on the inside. So then, just with whatever kind of adhesive you like, I'm going to use a little liquid adhesive. Just below that second score line, you can use score tape, you can use, I wouldn't use a tape runner. It needs to be a good sturdy adhesive. And then we're just going to tuck the second panel so that it lines up just below the fold. Hold on, let me grab a paper towel here. Actually, I can use this shop towel and just wipe away any excess glue. And so now you can see we have our card. There's our base. And that's the very first step. And if you're adding more dimensional stuff on the inside, just score at 1/2 inch instead of 1/4, but we should be fine with 1/4 inch. So set this aside. Let me put my pin back in my glue bottle. I'm using Art Institute Dries Clear Adhesive. This is my favorite adhesive. I use it for pretty much everything, but if you have a favorite, you should use that. So then you're going to cut some matting panels, and this is a navy and an olive cardstock that I thought looked really beautiful with this paper. And I cut the navy to 5 1/4 by 7 1/4, and this layer is 5 1/8 by 7 1/8, and that way we have nice matted margins all the way around. And then the next thing I want to do is just lightly distress these edges. You can use, if you don't have a distressing tool, you can actually use the side of your scissors like this. But I find a distressing tool, I can be a little clumsy and I'm less likely to cut myself. So now we've distressed our base and our 2 matting layers, and we're just going to set these aside. And now from the Floral Shoppe Collection, you're going to cut a 5 by 7 panel of this Scarlet Serenity paper. This is from the 12 by 12 collection pack. We're going to be using the indigo side of this paper that has the lovely text. And we're going to start just by distressing along here. Just very quickly. And then, because I want to have a little extra texture and design, I'm going to take this stencil leaf, recurring stencil leaf. This is by Little Birdie. I'm not going to use texture paste or anything. I'm just going to lay this down, and I'm going to use, this is Little Birdie matte acrylic home decor paint, and this is the sandstone color. Just give it a little shake. And I'm going to add this directly to my crafting mat. And I'm going to add just a spritz or 2 of water, because what I want here is sort of a dry brushed whitewashed effect. So I'm going to tap most of this off my brush And holding this firmly in place, I'm just going to pounce this down. And you can use tape if you want to. I don't think as usually I would, like if I was doing texture paste, but with this, and since we're just going for kind of a whitewashed layer, this should be fine. Then I'm just going to pick it up and come over here, and this is just real subtle. And I didn't do the whole thing because this, you're not going to see this entire layer. This is going to become our pocket. But see how pretty that is? It just adds a really subtle extra layer of texture and dimension. So set this aside to dry. Okay, so while that's drying, you're going to pull out your Sunlit Medley 12 by 12 paper, and you're just going to fussy cut this large corner cluster of flowers from this paper. And when you're done, it is going to look like this. So, and I trimmed out around here, but you can see this is a perfect fit for our indigo panel that we did. And I'm just going to very quickly distress along these edges. I also ink my cut edges with Vintage Photo Distress ink. You can also use the Graphic 45 Decades ink, or if you have other inks that you like, feel free to use those. But I'm just going to very quickly just brush those raw edges. Some people use a marker, and that I have done that. That works really well. I've just been using the brush for so long, it just feels natural to me to do it this way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up along here, and I'm just going to take a little bead of glue to hold this in place, put a little bead of my adhesive here, and line this up. And I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch, just get this lined up right where I want it. And that adhesive, just, you can use a removable adhesive, you can use whatever you want, but don't put your adhesive where you're going to be sewing, or it will impede your sewing machine. So I'm just going to stitch around the perimeter, and I'm going to go do that, and I'll be back to show you what that looks like. So as you can see, I added the stitching just around the corners, leaving this open. This is going to be our tag pocket, and this is an optional step. You can certainly leave this out. I just like the extra detail that this adds. So now I'm going to take this panel, and I'm going to adhere it to both of our matting pieces that we prepared. Just adding my adhesive to the back. And the key with liquid adhesive is don't overdo, because if you do, it's going to squish all out the sides. But we just want to center this up. Make sure we're straight. So there's layer one. And then bring in this navy cardstock, and we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to add our adhesive to the back of this green panel. Just like this. And some people don't care for matting. I love how it kind of frames a piece. So if you don't like to mat, no pressure, don't mat. The card will still be fabulous. Then I have about an 8-inch piece of this white netting, and I like this because it's open, but it adds texture and pattern without covering up these beautiful flowers. So this is 1.5 inches wide. I'm going to take 2 strips of 1/2-inch score tape, and I'm just going to lay those down like this, and peel off the backing, and then we're just going to lay our netting down. It's going to wrap this around the back so it's nice and neat, but we're going to add a chipboard element here, and this is from the Floral Shoppe chipboard, and I just lightly sand around the edges. Okay, so once you've sanded all the way around the edges. You can either come in with Distress ink and just sponge around those edges and pop this back in the way it goes. And then on the back of this, we're going to add a little dimension so that it will pop up from the page. And I just have some waste packaging. This is just a cardboard box that some of my design team supplies come in, and we're just going to cut that to fit. You can also use foam tape if you would like. I just like to spend my money on pretty papers. So when it comes to my dimensionals, I just use old cardboard boxes and packaging. Priority mail boxes in the US work particularly well for this. So I'm just going to add a double layer so this will really pop up from the base of our card. And this is going to go right down here in this corner, like that. Just hold that a second for the glue to set. This aside to dry. And I already did this in advance just to save time. This is Delightful Damask, and this is the primed chipboard from Little Birdie. And it comes pre-primed, but I added another layer of this lovely home decor paint. And while the paint was still wet, I sprinkled it with this Stampendous Shabby Chic ivory embossing enamel. And that's what gives it that little bit of glimmer and shine. You could also use glitter, but I find this is just really easy. So I like easy. I'm just going to add my adhesive to the back. And if you're wondering why we haven't added this to the card base yet, that is because that is always the very last thing that I do. And we're just going to put this companion piece, tuck it right under that chipboard. And I just love the little extra dimension and shine, and I like how this paint color lightens up the entire design. So now we're ready to start adding our flowers to the side. So hold on for a minute, let me set up my glue gun and I'll be right back. Okay, so while we're waiting for that glue gun to heat up, I'm just going to come in and we're going to build our bookmark. And the base for this, because it's such a nice sturdy piece of cardstock, is the packaging that the Delightful Damask chipboard came in. I've just saved the backer piece. And then I cut a how large is this? Let me get my ruler. I just matched this up real quickly. Okay, so 2 3/4 by 7 1/8 of this is Pink Lilies, and we're going to use the striped side, and we're going to ink our edges. Bring in our we're going to adhere this right over this piece. All the way to the top. And let me get a bone folder just to push any air bubbles out and to make sure that everything is well secured. And this is a perfect weight for a bookmark. So pretty. And then from the ephemera cards, I trimmed down this 3x4 Bloom and Grow so that it is the correct width for our bookmark. Add our adhesive, and you can use either side. And we're going to put this down right about here. And then when we fussy cut our corner from Golden Serenity, we have this extra little iris piece, actually I think I'm going to go right along the bottom, just like this. And then just wrap around the sides so you get a really nice finished edge. Here's my bone folder on the back. Make sure I've got enough adhesive there to hold things. Then we're going to take this flower chipboard, right up here actually looks really good because then it's like a pull tab and it will stick out of your book. So just add your adhesive along the top edge. And for this, we're going to use the sticker sheet that comes with the 12 by 12 collection. And we're just going to add along the top a beautiful border. We're just going to put this right here and center that on each side. And then you can actually cut with a little overhang and then just fold that back. And you got a really nice, neat edge. And put this back on the sheet. So let's pick this shaped yellow rose. And we're just going to kind of tuck this. You can maybe lift the edge of that iris a little bit. Tuck this under there. And wrap it around. That looks really cute. And then I'm going to take this text border and go right across the top above our striped lily border and just adhere that and trim it out around the back. Just get that little rounded corner in there. Let's do one simple word down here at the bottom just to kind of finish it off. So this just becomes our bookmark, and this is going to go right inside our pocket. So now you have not just a card, but you have a card and a gift. And we'll add some ribbon or something to this a little later on. See where your bookmark has to be able to fit? So you don't want to go beyond this iris edge right here. So to help me do that, I'm just going to fold this back and add some adhesive. And that will be a reminder to me not to go beyond that point. And I'm actually going to leave my bookmark in there. That will help too. So the very first thing I'm going to do, I've got this beautiful foliage from, oh, here are the flowers we're using. We're using, this is Rosalind Candy Mix, these beautiful roses. And then I have the Wendy Carnation, beautiful. These Bernice Purple and Fiona Mulberry. And then these are the Little Birdie Foliage. These are the pollen. I'll list it in the description. These are the pollen and something. I can't remember the last name and I don't see the packaging. But anyway, that's what we're going to use. So from the Rosalind Candy, I'm going to start laying down my leaves at the base. And I love that Little Birdie adds so many foliage pieces to their flower packs, because to me, that is what makes for a realistic composition with flowers. And don't do it straight, kind of angle it around, move those leaves, make it look natural. Just let it flow. And then I have a second one of these that is going to come in on the other side. And just getting my adhesive in place. And I want this one to come down kind of on the low end and then come up like this and let this little part here stick off the side, because that always looks natural. Let me get the adhesive off my fingers. So I always start with my biggest flower first. That just helps me with the placement. And I've got this beautiful Rosalind Candy Open Rose. And I'm just going to add this right here, kind of as an anchor. And I want it to tip forward a little bit. So I'm going to take a little bit more of my packaging. And I'm just going to add here a couple of these chips. underneath it because I want it to tip forward. I want everything to look kind of like you would find it in nature. You don't find too many perfectly straight flowers in nature. So I'm just going to go under here just to add that little, almost like a shim. And you see what that did to that flower automatically? I just love that look. So then I'm going to tuck one of these beautiful Wendy carnations back behind there. And we're just going to start building our floral layers, going up as we go. And I want to tuck this one up nice and high. And there you have it. There's our beautiful floral cluster. I just love this. That turned out really good. And earlier I prepared just a loopy string bow, and we're just going to tuck this in down at the bottom. Just lift this purple rose just a little bit, and then just use the point of your scissor because the glue is hot. And just get that tucked in there, just like that. Perfect. And then you have a minute or so to fuss the bow, and you can come back in with another little one of the small ones and just adjust the size of it. I just kind of do like this, and then I'm going to add my adhesive to the back, and that's going to sit right there. You just have to hold that in place for a moment. And then this created this beautiful, this is just jute twine. I kind of wanted to keep this natural, and so I didn't do a lot of ribbon and stuff. Okay, so while I was waiting for my phone to recharge, I went ahead and made a few little modifications to our bookmark. I decided it was a little too tall for the pocket, so I removed that Flowers chipboard, and I just rounded all the edges, and I punched a hole so that I can run about a 6-inch piece of ribbon through. This is Iris shimmer satin, and I get this from Really Reasonable Ribbon, but whatever ribbon you have in your stash that you like to use is just fine. We're just going to loop that through so that the tails stick up, and of course that will be where you find your place in your book. And then I tied a little bow with the same ribbon, and we're just gonna hot glue that right at the top. Just hold that in place for a second so that until that glue sets up, and then we'll be good to go. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to do one. Of course, this is the part that will stick out of the top of your book. And I'm going to glue that one right there, add that one right there with my hot glue. And I think that's really cute. I'm very happy with that. So this is what goes, and you'll just see now, it just fits so much better. See, I like that. It was too tall before, and it just was throwing off the balance of the entire piece. So what I'm going to do with this flower chipboard is I'm going to add a little hot glue to the back, And I'm going to tuck it right along this edge, so it's kind of behind our pollen foliage. Look how pretty that looks. And that will be, that kind of balances out the chipboard on this side. So that completes the cover. Now we're going to work on the inside. And bring in your card base. And of course we're going to work on the inside. And I have cut some more of the Floral Shoppe paper. This measures 5 3/8 by 7 3/8. And one of these is going to be a floral element on the top, and we're going to use the reverse side on the bottom. Isn't that beautiful? I just love this. We're going to make a pocket for the bottom, and for the pocket I've used more of the golden serenity, and I cut this piece to 6.5 by 3.5. And we're going to bring in our scoring tool and a stylus, and we're going to go 1/2 inch on the end, on the long side. Then we're going to turn it, and we know that our paper is 5 3/8, so I'm going to go 1, I'm going to go at 6, and then I'm going to go, let me see. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold on those score lines. Just burnish that. We're going to take a circle punch. I'm just going to find the center. And this is the technique that I use for all my pockets. It doesn't matter if they're long pockets or short pockets. This is how I make a pocket. So then we're going to cut up to that first score line and angle out. And come over here and do the same thing. Cut up to the first score line and angle out. And then this flap is going to fold back, and these are going to fold over. Let me move my scoring tool out of the way for a moment. And with any luck, this piece will sit right down inside. Yep, perfect. And then we're just going to glue our flaps to the back. Make sure we're centered. Make sure I'm in frame. We're just going to add our adhesive. Straight flap goes first. Then fold in those 2 angled flaps. And there is a perfect pocket to go on the bottom half of our card. So we're just going to add our adhesive to the back. Line it up. And we're going to have a tiny little bit of that white peeking out all the way around like a frame. That looks good and straight. And adhere that down. So that is the pocket on the bottom. Then for this one on the top, we're going to use the striped side. And I left this header piece on there because we're just going to score that. And then, hold on, let's go this way, and we're going to score in 1/2 inch here. And this piece was cut 8 3/8 and 2 1/2. So you always want to cut an inch wider so that you have room to cut 1/2 inch flap on each side. And then this, we're just going to do that same thing. And bring in our circle punch. Fold these back so that I can eyeball where the center is a little bit better. Of course, you can use a ruler if you want to get exact dead center, but close to center is perfect enough for me. Then this is just going to tuck just like that, nice and neat. We're just going to do the same thing here on this side. Add, oops, let me move this out of the way. Adhesive on the straight flap. Hold it in. And then this is going to go on the top, just like that. So now you have a pocket on the top and a pocket on the bottom. And what are we going to put in the pockets? Well, that's up to you. I like to create these little folios to go in the pockets. So I took a piece of just plain white cardstock, 8.5 across, and I cut it so that it's 6 1/4 inches tall. And I'm going to use ephemera cards from the collection to decorate this. So we're going to use this horizontal, and I cut a piece of our navy cardstock just slightly smaller, and you can just, it's probably like 5 7/8. I'll measure it for you in a minute, but I really almost just eyeball it because I just want just that little tiny bit of white. And then I also did a green one. Okay, and that's going to go like that. This extra adhesive up with my shop towel. Burnish everything down really well. And then I trimmed down this take time to smell the flowers so that I could get the matting. Going to center this on the green. And that is the front of our little gift card folio. Then we open it up, and on the top side we're going to use the same, this is the same Take Time to Smell the Flowers. You could use whichever one you want. And we're just going to adhere that on the top. Quick and easy. Just like that. And that gives you lots of room to write a personal sentiment here. So here I've made another pocket just as I did with the two that we did before, so I don't need to show you that again. You've probably got that down pat by now. It's a great way to use up your scraps. You always have pieces lying around. You could also give this just as it is and not tuck it into the card, and that would also be very, very nice. So now in this pocket you can add ephemera cards, we can dress it up, and I probably will do that, but I just wanted to show you the basis of how to make that. And then this will fit, oops, right inside this pocket, just like that. Isn't that lovely? And now you've got a gift as well as a card, which is really fun. And then down on the bottom, I'm going to dress this up a little bit and add some little treats in the pocket down here. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back in a minute. Okay, so the only thing we have left to do is load our card cover onto our card base. So let's go ahead and do that. To do this, take everything out of the inside pockets, lay it flat, making sure you've got it right side up. Go ahead and take your bookmark out of the pocket here, and take your adhesive of choice and just add it all the way around the edges. A little bit to the center. Line it up with your card base. You're going to have that pretty white frame all the way around the outside edges. So
edges.
now that you've loaded your prepared card front onto the card base, everything looks really gorgeous, and with that tag, and look, it's still beautiful even when you take the tag out. I just think this is such a fun design. So you've got a home decor piece, you've got a gift. On the inside, I finished up our little folios. I just very simply added a tea bag, a chocolate, and a little sticker. You can write your sentiment here, and of course there's room to tuck in photographs. You can tuck in a gift card, anything your heart desires, and that goes in this side pocket. I also added a couple of the same sticker strips that we used on the bookmark. And then in the bottom pocket, I just added this from the tags and pockets. Take time to smell the flowers. A little honey stick decorated with a sticker and a little scrap of paper. And then 2 ephemera cards tucked in there. You can add photos on the back. You can do journaling on the back. So this becomes almost like a little mini album and home decor, gift, card, all in one. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'd like to thank Rashmi and Harish for inviting me to guest design. It was an absolute pleasure. I'm wishing you all a joyful and creative day, and I'm going to go get my craft on.